Welcome to Journey to Esquire, the podcast. I'm Jocelyn Hardrick, founder and president of Diversity Access Pipeline, Inc., the company behind this podcast and other great programs, like Journey to Esquire Scholarship and Leadership Program, which provides $2,000 cash scholarships to third-year law students and internships to second-year law students, along with leadership training and mentors. And Journey to Esquire, the blog, which provides insightful articles to help navigate you through law school and beyond. Find out more on our website, www.journeytoesquire.com. Hi, I'm Jocelyn Hardrick, founder and president of Diversity Access Pipeline, Inc., the nonprofit behind the Journey to Esquire Scholarship and Leadership Program, the podcast, and the blog. I'm so excited today. We're going to hear from our class of 2023 scholars. They are going to give their presentations about their experience in the program, share some of the things that they learned, and their future plans upon graduation, and of course, taking the bar exams. And so we're excited to hear from them. Before we hear from Logan and Jessica, though, I'd like to talk a little bit about our program. We're celebrating our 5th anniversary. We're so excited about that. Just to give a little bit where we've been and what we've done in these 5 years. We have given out, after this round of scholarships, $50,000 in cash scholarships to deserving students to help them with bar prep, law school expenses, and also through our writing and art competition. So it's been our absolute privilege to be able to get that money and those resources in the hands of our students. We have helped over 31 law students and assisted them with scholarships, mentors, and training. We've had 74 volunteers who have acted as mentors and guest speakers during our modules. We have 80 podcast episodes and more to come in season 4 because we're still recording, and 35 plus individual donors, as well as all of our sponsors. So we are small but mighty, and we're going to be celebrating our 5 years on October 14, 2023. So we're going to share a little more information about that later. The Journey to Esquire ideals. So our ideals are inclusion, equity, diversity, equity, access, and leadership. And we define these in the following ways. Inclusion is the practice or policy of providing equal access to opportunities and resources for people who might otherwise be excluded or marginalized, such as those with physical and mental disabilities and members of other minority groups. And it's the practice of ensuring that people feel a sense of belonging in the workplace and everywhere they enter, into law school, and all the communities that they are involved in. Diversity is the practice or quality of including or involving people from a range of different social and ethnic backgrounds and of different gender and sexual orientations. And equity is the quality of being fair and impartial. It's the process of ensuring that the processes and programs are impartial, fair, and provide equal possible outcomes for every individual. And through access, we have the right to obtain or make use or take advantage of something such as services or membership. And for us, it's all the wonderful resources available within the Tampa Bay legal community, the Florida legal community, and the legal profession. Leadership, the art of motivating a group of people to act towards achieving a common goal. And we heard so much about our alumni and how they are emerging as leaders, even 1, 2, and 3 years out of law school, and of course, service, giving back to the community at large, including but not limited to pro bono services. So our Journey to Esquire Scholarship and Leadership Program is all about ensuring that we instill these ideals in the students, and we help encourage it, and we give them the resources in order to build their skills so that they can go out in the community and do the same thing. Today we're going to hear from our 2 scholars, Jessica Sivillo from WMU Cooley Law School and Logan Jackson from Stetson University College of Law. And they're going to talk about how some of those ideals were apparent in the program, what they learned about it, and how they're going to, take those skills into their legal profession. So we're so excited to hear from them today. We're going to have Logan Jackson present first, and then we'll have Jessica Sivillo, and I'll come back with some additional brief remarks and congratulations for our class of 2023 scholars and our alumni. I'll see you in a little bit.
My name is Logan Jackson, and I am a graduating student of Stetson University College of Law in just about a month. And I'm also a Journey to Esquire scholar, and here is my presentation. I'm going to do this in a very much like, here's a little background about me, and then move on to basically like from then to now. So I was born in 1998 in St. Louis, Missouri. That's me right there, looking a little bit bald, but it's fine. And I attended Catholic schools for both elementary and high school, but I wanted to talk about my transition from grade school to high school because I feel like that really set the tone for how I see myself or saw myself as a professional before I came to law school, and especially like before I became a member of the Esquire. So I went to a predominantly Black grade school, but then once I went to high school, it was predominantly white and all girl. And I feel like that's the first time I really started to deal with like racial issues and just learning more about myself as like a Black woman, a Black person, and just started to deal with a lot of implicit biases about Black women, like Black women are crude or Black women are loud. And I feel like I almost inherited those thoughts about myself, even though I would say like, I think these things are wrong, or like I, believe that these are just like, of course, implicit biases that or that are stereotypes about Black women. I implicitly, like myself, thought those things about myself going out throughout my career. But after high school, graduated, and in 2016, I started my time at Loyola University, New Orleans. I initially majored in math because I thought math was like super fun at the time. I don't know why, but deep down inside, I was always passionate about sociology and social justice. I just didn't know what it was called until I got to college, and it was sociology. So I majored in sociology and I minored in African-American studies. I was really involved with the Black Student Union there. I ended up becoming the president. I also joined Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. I was consistently volunteering with a nonprofit organization that focused on after school and weekend like educational programming with students from the inner city of New Orleans. And so during that time, I was just immersing myself in the New Orleans culture and just becoming more in tune with my passion for social justice and being involved with organizations that made social justice their primary focus. So with that, I graduated in 2019, and then I took a gap year. During my gap year, I knew that I wanted to work in like social work and public interest, but I just didn't really know what that would look like. And as I was looking for jobs, I saw that all the jobs I was looking at basically were like, also if you have a JD, like this is a JD advantage. And I didn't really know what that meant, but like also people kept telling me before this, like, you should really go to law school. I was like, I don't want to go to law school. I wouldn't be a good lawyer. I wouldn't even know how to talk in front of people, even though I had already had these skills, like from growing up and doing public speaking and acting and whatnot. Like, I just thought very terribly about my ability to even be a lawyer. And I just really just thought that it wasn't for me. And that's like a common theme throughout, I feel, my time at law school. Like all the things that I ended up doing throughout my time at law school, like before I did it, I was like, that's not for me. I couldn't do that. But I said, hey, I kind of losing out on options here and I need to figure out what I'm going to do. So I just was thinking I would either get my master's in social work or my JD. And the only criteria was that if I was going to get my law degree, it would have to be like a social justice oriented program. And that's when I found Stetson. And so I literally applied to Stetson, had never been to Gulfport in my entire life. The only time I had been to Florida was to come to Disney, but I literally just applied, got in, and the first time I came to Stetson was literally when I was moving in August. I moved to Florida in August 2020 and started my 1L year. And as we know, in 2020, that was the start of COVID, or I guess we were in the midst of COVID at that time. But it was a very difficult time for me. I was really far away from home. Like I said, I'm from St. Louis, so it was like a 14-hour drive. So it wasn't easy to see my parents. We were in the midst of COVID, so we were partially online with classes, sometimes in person, but the way that the campus is now, it definitely wasn't like that then. And quite frankly, the grades that I were making, I was at the bottom of my class. And I was genuinely unhappy with how I was doing in law school because, as many people know, like everyone in law school probably came from, having the highest grades in their high school and college classes. And I was the same way. But at this point in time, I just really thought like, whoa, this isn't for me. Like, because I'm not doing well at all, I don't need to do this, period. So I, at that time, was faced with the decision of whether or not I wanted to continue to go forward with law school or to just go back home and try to figure something else out. But I like to think of myself as a very committed person. And when I start something, I want to finish it. And I felt like God would have not put me in this position or led me here if I wasn't meant to be here. And I, at that time, was just starting to think about how maybe I was being faced with these challenges because I was growing in a way. And like, even though the growth was like terribly uncomfortable, and I was like, I really don't want to go through this anymore. I just knew that even though I couldn't see the light at that moment, I would see it at some point. So I decided to stay. And as I went through law school, I became much more comfortable with the rigor of it. My grades got better. I learned how to study better, and I started working. Like, I got a part-time job at a law firm. I had internships and fellowships, and so I was just getting more involved in law school. And I also became a trained Esquire intern, which, if you don't know, when you're not a 3L, as a 2L, you could be an intern and essentially help out with one of the many facets of the program. So at that time, I was assisting with the podcast, and I was introduced to many attorney mentors. You also get to participate in the modules as an intern. And I started to learn a lot more about what my own journey to Esquire needed to look like. Excuse me. I started to just learn more about my own self and like what worked best for me, because I think that another part of like why I was so hard on myself was because I was looking at what all of my peers were doing and felt like I wasn't doing that, and it didn't make it any better that I didn't look like any of them. I didn't have many of the resources that they have. And so I just started to just put all these thoughts in my mind of like, I'm not doing this because I'm not doing that. This is not meant for me. But once I just said, hey, this is my world. This is my show. I have to do what works best for me. I feel like everything really just started to fall into place. And I feel like I started to learn that once I joined Journey to Esquire. During my 2L year, in addition to becoming more involved on campus, I was also introduced to trial advocacy, something that, again, I told myself that I had no business participating in whatsoever. And I actually avoided it for a very long time. But I did a competition at the Sivillo conference in the beginning of 2022. And from there, that's when I really got introduced to trial advocacy. And I said, perhaps I could, try out for the trial team at Stetson and see where this goes. And I had many other like Black women and Black alumni from Stetson that had been on the trial team before and that had coached me and basically really encouraged me to be on the trial team. Because just like at Stetson, it's a predominantly white institution. Like, if there's only so many people of color on campus, there's only so many people of color on our advocacy board. So it didn't feel like a very welcoming space on the face of it, but I gave it a try, and I ended up joining the team. But in addition to joining the team, I officially became a Journey to Esquire scholar. And I really just saw how following my own journey to Esquire was necessary for my success, because I feel as if at the start of my 3L year is when everything really just started to fall into place. And I saw how me staying on the path and following the course was one of the best things that I've done. And I've grown as not only as a professional and as an advocate and a future lawyer, but as a person and a woman. And I'm just very grateful for the experience I've had. But in addition to just seeing how necessary following my own journey to Esquire was, I saw how the modules really helped me assess my strengths and weaknesses. Like I said, at the start of my 2L year, I started to see, like what study habits worked for me, but looking at the modules about bar preparation and having to discuss and write to my own self, like what are some things or some challenges do I think I'm going to have when I'm starting to bar prep? Or how can I change my mindset and going into bar prep so that in the midst of bar prep, when things get tough, I'm not telling myself like, let's just drop all this. No, during the Esquire modules are telling you, no, this is necessary. Please stay on the path, stay on the course, and you have to do what works best for you, because everybody's journey to Esquire is different. So In addition to being a Journey to Esquire scholar, I became the president of Stetson's BOSA chapter. I joined the Sir BOSA executive board as a secretary, and through Sir BOSA, I had the opportunity to meet hundreds of other Black law students, and it's such a beautiful organization. And I also got to meet many other Black attorneys, but just through that organization, I've built long-lasting relationships that I will forever be grateful for. I joined the trial team, and in joining the team, I won 2 national championships in my first year, which I think was a record breaker or something of the sorts, but I don't think before then anyone had won 2 national championships in their first year of being on the trial team. I also won a writing prize and published a paper on the Black maternal health crisis. It's in the process of being published, but it was selected for publication as the first place winner, and it's being published in the Berkeley Journal of Gender, Law, and Justice. And I also recorded a podcast of my very own. You see how history comes back around. So in helping with the podcast my first year with Journey to Esquire, I recorded a podcast with Professor Judith Scully, who's a professor of law and who works heavily in the community regarding social justice and racial justice in Tampa Bay. And Professor Scully is one of my greatest mentors and has been very important to me throughout my time in law school. And so just being able to sit down with her and to have a conversation with her, which we do all the time, but to just be able to share that with the Journey to Esquire community was really amazing. So as far as what's next, a part of the Journey to Esquire is assisting diverse law students to enter into fields of the law that we often don't see people that look like us. So big law or clerkships. But I came to law school to really do public interest work. And at a certain point in time, I was talking with Professor Hardrick, and I was introduced to the idea of applying for a clerkship, but I just never saw myself being a judicial law clerk. Like we had just discussed, I'm at the bottom of the totem pole. What business do I have applying for a clerkship? But I realized that it wasn't that I really couldn't do it, but I just had conditioned myself to thinking that because I don't check off all these boxes, I don't have any business applying for it. But I did realize that even though I could do what I thought was impossible, I realized that just really wasn't for me, and that I do belong in the courtroom and talking to people and advocating for people. So I accepted a position as an assistant state attorney at the 9th Judicial Circuit in Orlando, so Orange and Osceola counties. And so I'm very excited for that. I began that in August after the successful completion of the Florida bar exam. And so I'm looking forward to seeing where this next step in my journey takes me and where things go from there. And just a few takeaways of why I think Journey to Esquire is so important. It's truly a support system for, not even just diverse law students, even though that is the purpose of the program, but it's just this general, really great support system. I've gotten educational, financial, emotional resources and mentorships that I would have never gained through Stetson or through just the relationships that I've made throughout law school. And it truly has provided a safe space for me to just recognize my own talents and flourish. And I think that that's very necessary being a first generation law student where I didn't have anyone in my corner explaining to me or providing me with any guidance of this is okay. Things are supposed to feel this way. If I didn't have people in my corner who were Journey to Esquire alumni or Professor Hardrick just basically encouraging me to just continue to go forward and allowing me to see my own worth, I wouldn't be here today. So I am very grateful for Journey to Esquire, and that is my presentation. Thank you.
Y'all, every time I'm do not start crying, because the tears start, it's going to be a problem. Stopping them. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much for those kind words. I love the baby picture. Loved it. I did not know all that stuff about you. And man, I've watched you from when you were that intern, when we were meeting, and you're like, yeah, I don't know, to who you are now and how celebrated you are. And can you believe this young lady thought she could not be a public speaker? Come on, somebody. Winning all these trial competitions and a writing prize, a double threat in the courtroom and on paper. Okay? I'm so proud of you, Logan. It's been my absolute pleasure to get to know you. I am so happy that you gained so much through the program. Even though like we were online, it's the same thing. We had to go online too and pivot and find the best ways to reach out to you guys. But it has been outstanding getting to see you guys in person and wrap my arms around your neck and give you a big old hug like I've gotten to do in the past couple of weeks. She also, I just want to celebrate Logan a little bit before we move to Jessica. She did some outstanding things with the Stetson Black Law Students Association. They renamed it. She had a great dinner where they brought back one of the founders who shared her story. And hearing her story, we're like, oh, we got it easy compared to what she was going through, But we understand that every generation has their own kind of journey where they have to grow. But they, the Trailblazers laid the foundation, which was the theme, and just brought together all the alumni and all the love that was in that room. And she did that. She's not going to take the credit, but she did that.
Takes the village.
Yeah. So thank you so much for allowing us to join you on your journey to Esquire. Thank you for sharing your story. And I saw some things in the chat, other people congratulating you, and we're going to give them a chance to share their words as well. So now we're going to transition to Jessica. Are you ready, Jessica?
Hi, everyone. My name is Jessica Sivillo, and I just graduated from WMU Cooley Law School here in Tampa Bay. And it's just so exciting to be here right now. It feels really surreal, honestly, just knowing that I just graduated and being able to present in front of all of you. I really appreciate the opportunity, and I'm excited to share a little bit more about my experience. A little bit about me. Most of the slides that I created, or if not all of them, just have photos, and I just figured I wanted to try to show you guys more about me through pictures and talk about my story. So on the left, I'm originally from Cleveland, Ohio, and I decided to move here in 2016 to attend the University of Tampa. I got a really great scholarship, in-state, out-of-state tuition. There's a big difference between the two, and was able to get a really good scholarship to be able to attend that university. And on the right, that's a photo of my mom and I at my graduation, right before I decided to move here from Cleveland to go to the University of Tampa. And my family and I had always vacationed in Florida, but I never thought I would actually live here or be here. I always wanted to, but that really was a pivotal moment for me when I moved here from Cleveland. So this is, I call them my circle or my support system. This is my family. My mom and dad here are in the front, and then my grandparents, my stepdad's in the photo, and then my boyfriend and his family. And I wanted to highlight them just because I really could not have done any of this without them. I'm the first in my family to graduate from college and law school, and they've just supported me so much, even from afar. My mom and stepdad still live in Ohio, and my grandparents, and then my dad lives in Clearwater, and then my boyfriend and his family are here at the Temple Terrace area. But just having that support system to call whenever I needed something, or hey, can you take me to dinner? I'm having a bad week. They just have been incredible support for me, so I wanted to feature them. So these are some pictures from when I went to the University of Tampa and graduated. And I wanted to highlight this because it was at the University of Tampa that I decided that I wanted to go to law school. I took some pre-law classes that University of Tampa offered, and I really, really liked it. I was really intimidated by the idea of going to law school and taking the LSAT, but I took some classes, did some writing, did some, mock trial, moot court competitions, and just decided, I think this might be for me. I took the LSAT 3 times. I remember my junior year, I studied for the LSAT over all of my Christmas break and took the LSAT the first time, didn't do great, second time, didn't do great, and then third time, I didn't do well. And I remember going through a period of time where I really thought, okay, I can't I'm not going to be able to get into law school. My GPA from my undergrad was really strong, but I just did not have the LSAT score to get in. And I actually applied to about 10 law schools and I only got into Cooley. So I felt really, really discouraged, and I really didn't have anybody to relate to because I didn't really know anybody that had gone to law school. My family kept saying, keep going, keep trying. They're very encouraging, but it just felt like a time where I was being rejected. And then finally Cooley Law School accepted me, and I felt like there was some glimpse of hope there. So that's kind of the journey of deciding I wanted to go and then getting an opportunity to actually be able to go to law school. So this is my law school interest. On the left there, those are some of just my achievements from when I was at the University of Tampa. So like I said, I was a really good student, really involved with my student organizations. I was in Alpha Chi Omega at University of Tampa, really just put my head down and did my work and had that dream of being able to go to law school. I went to the law school fair. That's a picture of me on the right with the Penn State law rep. I didn't want to go to Penn State, but I was just trying to connect with people and try to find out more about this process. I had no idea when I went into that fair what to say, how to talk to people. And he just really helped me that day and talked to me more about law school. And I said, hey, can we take a photo? And so as I was building this presentation, I found that photo, and it's just really funny to look back at because I remember I was so clueless that day about what I was getting myself into with law school. But yeah, that was like a little just glimpse of hope for me that I could maybe do it. And so then when I got into Cooley Law School, I immediately wanted to immerse myself in some student organizations because I, again, didn't know anybody that was at Cooley. I didn't really know anybody that went to law school in general. And I thought the best way to connect with people would be to be a part of the Student Bar Association. As Logan said, we started law school during COVID. So we, didn't have, at least I didn't have any in-person classes. Cooley was fully online. All of my exams were online, and I just couldn't meet anyone, student in my class, any of my peers. So I thought, I really need to get involved because I wanted to be a part of my community. And so this is a picture of some of the women that I served on the Student Bar Association with, and I was elected my 1L year by my peers, and that was huge for me because I was able to develop some really meaningful relationships with my peers and just get to know what law school was all about. At that time, actually, there was Journey to Esquire scholars that were new Professor Hardrick or Professor Hardrick was mentoring, one of which I have to mention is Yasmin Ramaha. She mentored me all of my 1L and 2L year, and I got to connect with her through student organizations at Cooley. And she just pretty much paved the way for me and told me, all the do's and don'ts of law school. And I just wanted to shout her out because she was a big part of that transition for me. This is a photo of a scholarship I won from the Hillsborough County Bar Association. I got to join the Hillsborough County Bar Association as a student when I was in I think it was the end of my first year. But I wanted to share this because I remember being in the airport after the first semester or the first full year of my, 1L year at Cooley. And I was feeling really discouraged sitting in the airport because first year it was so overwhelming. My mental health was really suffering with the fact that I was fully online and couldn't see anybody in person, didn't know any of my student or my peers. And I applied for this scholarship and thought, maybe I'll just put myself out there and see what happens. And I was sitting in the airport going home to Cleveland to see my family. And I got an email saying, we've accepted you to be one of our scholars and to have membership with us. And it felt like, okay, God is telling me you can do this, keep going. The first year was hard, but you're meant to be here. So that was really a big moment for me, and it encouraged me. And I just want to thank the HCBA for giving me that opportunity. And then shortly after that, in my 2L year, Yasmin Ramaha, she's down in the left corner. She started the Florida Association for Women Lawyers at Cooley. So originally Fall had a chapter at Cooley, but with people graduating, it kind of dissipated. And Yasmin decided, I want to recharter this organization at Cooley. And she reached out to me and said, I think you should join. And that was so huge for me because Florida Association for Women Lawyers is really, it goes hand in hand with the Journey to Esquire program. And this is before I started Journey to Esquire, but it really provides opportunities for women in the legal field and to allow women to be leaders in the legal space. And so joining that was really big for me because I realized that I had a whole network of people that were going to uplift me. And then it was our mission at Cooley to try to provide those opportunities for women and in the legal space. So I wanted to highlight Fall because it was a big part of my law school journey. And I eventually went on to be the president of Fall at Cooley and really just tried to host many events and opportunities for our students and for us to give back to our community. So that was a really, really important part of Cooley for me. Here's a photo of me, similar to how Logan was saying with her trial advocacy experience. I never thought that I could do anything like moot court or mock trial. I did a little bit of it when I was in my undergrad. Of course, it wasn't like as high stakes. It was, just for practice and for class requirements, but I never really thought I could actually compete. And I remember some students reaching out to me saying, you should try to compete in the moot court competition. And it was online this semester because of COVID. That's why you could see we're all in little Zoom boxes. And I thought, how am I going to balance this with school? I don't know if I'm going to be able to prepare. And then I just said, let me just give it a try. I just want to put myself out there. I had a lot of people encouraging me, so I decided to go for it. And I actually won the competition that semester. So that was really exciting and big for me because it was one of those things where I was limiting myself, thinking, I can't do this. I don't even know, anything about school or this competition. And I'm just going to give it my best. And that really motivated me to keep going. And it propelled me to then join the moot court board and to really just expand some of the skills that I had at law school. Here's a picture of myself at the Florida Bar Young Lawyers Division Law School affiliate meeting. So when I was in my 2L year, I'm not sure if any of you know Daniela Mendez. She's fantastic, another big mentor of mine. She nominated me to be one of Cooley's law school affiliates. And then there's Daniel Cardwell, one of my peers. He just passed the Florida bar. Him and I were the law school affiliates, and Maggie Hassan. And we got to go to the affiliate outreach conference. And that was really awesome because I got to meet a bunch of lawyers throughout Florida. I got to represent Cooley, and I really realized that I was able to give students at Cooley a voice. We really didn't have much of a presence at this meeting or at this conference in the past. And it was really nice to be able to show up and be in that room and say, I'm here representing the students, and here are some of our concerns, and voice that to the Florida bar. And so huge networking opportunity for me. Again, something that I never thought that I would be able to do. And thankfully, with networking with Daniela and just her taking me under her wing, I was able to be a part of this. And then here's some more pictures of me at Cooley. This is, on the left, is a photo of me at the Barristers Ball. My peers voted me for the Helping Hand Award. So I won that at the Barristers Ball in 2022. And then on the right-hand side is my dad and I, and that's the Distinguished Student Award that I won. And so again, just highlighting these because as 1L and even before that in college, I had these aspirations and dreams, but because I didn't know anybody in law school and was the first in my family, I didn't think that I was going to be able to achieve this. So both of these moments were just really humbling for me, and I'll just never forget them. And then this is at graduation, actually, about like 15 minutes before the ceremony started. But I took a picture next to the plaque where all the students who won the moot court competition, our names are on that plaque. And so I'm pointing to my name right before graduation. And my mom took the photo and I said, "Here, look, I'm on the wall and I can't believe it." So that's just a really fun memory to have. Another photo just of the Student Bar Association and some of the individuals that I got to connect with and that I'm still really great friends with. And really just the importance of this photo is the fact that I really got to make meaningful connections with my peers through Cooley student organizations, and I'm just really grateful for that. And then some more photos. I got to join Law Review when I believe it was the end of my 2L year going into 3L year. And that was really, really exciting, great experience. And I also, through my connections with the Florida Association for Women Lawyers, I connected with Hall, the Hillsborough Association for Women Lawyers, and won a certificate of scholarship. And I am very grateful for that because it provided me with an opportunity to pay off some of my tuition and put towards some of that money toward some of the textbooks and things I had to buy during law school. So that was really big for me to be able to get that scholarship. So next, I want to move into meeting Professor Hardrick, because a lot of this kind of intertwined with when I started the Journey to Esquire program. I came to the program when I was a 2L. And again, Yasmin Ramaha reached out to me and she emailed me and she said, "Hey, Professor Hardrick has an opening for an intern to do the blog." She said, "I think you'd be a great candidate. Can I recommend you to her?" And I said, "Yeah, I would love that." I had Professor Hardrick for criminal law, and I really, really enjoyed being in her class and said, yeah, that would be great if I could connect with her further. And so Yasmin recommended me for the internship, and I got to connect with Professor Hardrick, and she gave me the opportunity to write the blog. A lot of the posts that were in the blog in 2021 and 2022 were some students from the program had written some of the past blogs, so I got to go in and edit and add photos. And I actually also got to create some of my own blogs, and they were focused on the program's mission. So I got to write about inclusion, diversity, equity, access, leadership, and service. And through writing those blogs, I got to learn so much more about the program and the program's mission and why ideals is so important. And I really enjoyed that because I got to put in time researching those topics and understanding why those are important, why that's an important mission for this program, and how I can now carry that forward with me in any other organization that I'm a part of. And even through my participation in Florida Association for Women Lawyers and the Student Bar Association, I really wanted to make it my mission that I would incorporate ideals in those organizations that I was a part of. And I wanted to provide opportunities for students like me who were first generation students to know you can be a leader, you can have equality, you can have access to the same opportunities, and you don't have to go to a school that might have a bigger reputation or already have people in the family that know about law school. There's a community for you. So that was really exciting to be able to do that. Here's a photo of me when I became the blog editor. And this is one of Professor Hardrick's posts on social media. And I got a lot of great exposure with some of the students at Cooley and then even friends at other law schools. And I remember being able to share the blogs, and it just really felt like I was making a difference and being able to learn more about the program. It was really an honor to be a part of it. And I just want to thank Professor Hardrick for allowing me to be the blog editor, because without that experience, I would not be here right now. And I would never have formed some of the relationships that I did in the legal community without this experience. And then here's one of the blogs that I wrote on the right-hand side. Again, some of the blogs that came to us were already drafted by some students and scholars that were in the program prior. And Professor Hardrick had reached out to me and said, we can use some of this from students that had already worked really hard on the blog. And so I went in and I edited and just made it a little bit more enhanced and was able to share some posts on the blog. And it was a really great experience. And then here's some photos of the Florida Association for Women Lawyers. I actually was invited to go to a conference to represent Cooley. It was at the Stetson Law Building in Tampa, and I got to talk about some of the successful things that Cooley Law School's chapter does for fall, and they chose me out of all the fall chapters. And that was really a huge moment because Cooley students and Cooley student organizations, I feel, aren't always represented in our legal community, and for Florida Association for Women Lawyers to choose Cooley to be there, I can't put into words how exciting that was for me, and to be able to be the person that got to represent Cooley and shake everyone's hands in the legal community and share things that Florida Association for Women Lawyers is doing for our students. It's just an honor to be there. And after I was able to participate in the blog, I became a scholar with Logan. Professor Hardrick reached out to me and let me know that there was an opportunity to apply. And I really felt so forever grateful for that moment, because I knew that I was going to be able to participate in all of the modules. I had already done a few of them when I was the blog editor and intern, but I got an opportunity to go through more modules and create more meaningful connections in the community. And I also was able to have more mentors and have financial support. I got to meet Logan through this experience, and I wanted to feature this picture as another part of that journey. So here are some of the Journey to Esquire modules that Logan and I got to go through. Some of them I participated in live during when I was a blog editor, and I wanted to highlight just a few of them that were really essential to the Journey to Esquire for me. So the first one I want to highlight is mentorship. Professor Hardrick connected me to Judge Baggy Hernandez on the right when I was a blog editor, and he was so kind. I remember being really nervous because I thought, there's no way a judge wants to mentor me. I don't know how that's going to work, or if we would actually have a meaningful connection. And Judge Baggy Hernandez immediately reached out to me and said, I want you to come to our office. And he sat down with me and gave me so much advice. I will never forget, he really steered me in the right direction in my second and third year of law school, because he said to me, do you know all the subjects that are tested on the Florida bar? And I said, I think so. And I started listing off some, and he said, you're missing a lot. And I was almost really embarrassed in that moment, because I'm like, I'm about to take the bar in less than a year, and here's this judge who I look up to, and I don't know all the subjects on the bar. I couldn't rattle all of them off. And he's like, go home, do your research, and come back to me. And so the second time that I met up with him, I said, no, I know all of them now. And we just laughed about it. But the point of that was that he really was trying to get me to take classes while I was at Cooley that were bar focused. So instead of taking maybe in an elective that I was interested in, he said, take subjects that are on the Florida bar. That's why I need you to know them, because you should take classes that align with that, and then you'll be more prepared. So I'm really grateful for just that conversation that I had with Judge Baggy Hernandez and the continual relationship that him and I have. He's supported me through the Florida Association for Women Lawyers. He has supported me through just trying to find jobs and internships. And I know that I can email him anytime and he'll be there for me. And, he's at every single event. I'm sure all of you probably have met him, and he's just around a lot, but I appreciate him. And then Professor Hardrick also introduced me to Kimberly Lopater when I became a scholar. And again, I was really nervous to connect with her because I really looked up to her and in her career doing so much for the community. And so we had a Zoom call, and I just was so impressed with how real she was with me. I shared my experience about being a first generation college student and law school graduate, and she could relate to me and was just very authentic about what it was like to be in big law, what it was like to transition from law school to the bar and then to being in the legal field. And I really appreciated that advice. She doesn't sugarcoat things, and it meant a lot to me to be able to have that real connection with someone. And without the Journey to Esquire program, I would never have had people guiding me throughout the way and steering me to be able to go in the right direction. So the mentorship aspect of this is huge, and Professor Hardrick will go out of her way to make sure that you have someone that's mentoring you. And I'm just so grateful for that. Another part of it that was huge for me in the Journey to Esquire was lawyer wellness. I, as I mentioned, really struggled with my mental health throughout the first year of law school because of the fact that we were fully online, and I was just in my 1-bedroom apartment. I didn't have a roommate. My family wasn't nearby. Really struggled. And when I got to the Journey to Esquire program and listened to the modules about lawyer wellness and how important it is to take care of yourself and pour into your own cup, it really hit me that this self-care isn't just through law school. It's throughout life. It's throughout the legal field. And I was really appreciative of the fact that Professor Hardrick and the Journey to Esquire program highlighted on that, because I don't think that mental health is talked about enough. And I started using the Calm app after I went through the modules. I knew about the Calm app before, but I really just didn't take the time to research it or try it out. And I did the 7-day trial afterwards, and it's really changed just the way that my stress levels are and allows me to pour into my own cup before I go and tackle so many things in my day. So I'm really grateful for that module. And then the last part that I wanted to touch on is bar preparation. And this module meant a lot to me because I was in the program so late towards bar preparation, since I was at the tail end of my law school journey, and I knew it was looming and it was right around the corner. So to be able to have a module where it was solely focused on what do you do mentally, physically, emotionally during the bar, not only just the studying aspect of it, but how to just handle all those emotions, it was really important for me, and I'm taking that with me even now. I plan to start diving into the bar exam. I've already started studying for it, and Professor Hardrick was so gracious enough to send me some of her books that I wanted to feature on my PowerPoint, because I started reading them before I started bar preparation while I had some time, and she gave me a journal to write in, and I'm really big about that, especially because I've wanted to incorporate mental health. And so I wanted to thank Professor Hardrick for giving me those resources and for allowing me to know how important it is to prioritize your mental health and also to find joy during that journey. So thank you. And networking, I forgot about this one. Logan and I got to network at Butler with Mr. Katz on the left-hand side and Professor Hardrick. And this is another big part about Journey to Esquire program. You get to network with people in the community, not only your mentors, but also big law firms. I remember that day of going into that firm, and it was surreal for me because I'd never been in a firm like that. It's in the Sykes building in downtown Tampa. And it was just a really great experience to actually be in that space and to be a part of that presentation. So that was a really cool experience. Here's just a photo of law school graduation. I got to be the valedictory speaker, which my peers selected me to represent this class at graduation. And that's a photo of myself and President Dean McGrath and me receiving my diploma. And then lastly, the next chapter for me, I'm excited to share that I passed the MPRE while I was in law school, so I don't have to worry about that, thankfully. Another photo of me for graduation. And then I will be joining Cole Scott and Cassane as an associate attorney in September after I pass the bar exam, hopefully. So that is a little bit about me and my journey. And I just wanted to thank you all so much for giving me the opportunity to talk a little bit about my story. And I wanted to thank Professor Hardrick for mentoring me. She's going to be coaching me through the bar exam. And I'm just really, really grateful that I have that relationship with her. And I keep saying how grateful I am, but I am always so appreciative of this program, and I want to be able to support it in the future. So thank you so much. I just wanted to show two things about my journey and about my day-to-day that really keep me going. On the left-hand side, this is just one of my favorite quotes and reminders. It says, "Success doesn't come from what you do occasionally. It comes from what you do consistently." And I think it really ties into the Journey to Esquire program because there's an accountability aspect of the program with going through the modules and really learning about leadership, service, writing. It's really a full scope, and you can incorporate those things into your law school journey, but it needs to be consistent in order for you to grow and improve. So I love that. And then on the right, I was in a doctor's office in Tampa, Florida, and I was just having a bad day. And I saw this on the wall. I'm a faithful person, and I really believe that God has put me here for a reason and has connected me with all of you and with Professor Hardrick and Logan and this Journey to Esquire program for a reason. And so as I move on through the next chapters of my life, I want to put God at the center and thank him for all of these blessings that I have, such as this program. So thank you.
Valedictory speaker. I said, hey, I think I knew this. And she gave such a great speech. Just like Logan, she's kind of like, I'm not sure if I'm a good speaker. And other students were telling me that they were so happy about her speech because she mentioned other students. She did interplay with all the classes and all the organizations she was a part of. And listen, Journey to Esquire creates lawyers who lead, mentor, and inspire one student at a time. As you can see with these two students, we're doing it while they're in law school. So I'm just going to give my last bit of remarks, like I promised earlier. We've heard from our two wonderful scholars this year. And I want to give a special thank you to the class of 2023 board members, Riel Bell, Jonathan Kernizan, Sarah Lalo Amin, Kim Lopater, Vanessa Ferguson, Abigail Dean, Darnisha, it was Carter, but Foley, and Marisol Ruiz, who helped us keep the program going this year and served as our board members. We don't do any of this ourselves. If you notice, whenever I talk about Journey to Esquire, I always say we, right? So there's always a team of people behind me, even though a lot of times I'm the face of the program. And so I'd like to send my genuine thanks to those individuals for their continued support. Listen, season 4 of the podcast has been exciting. We've had a lot of interest in people being guests. We've had great guests. And I have to put it on 2 slides. And we still have some episodes coming along. So stay tuned and make sure you're like and subscribe on YouTube and your favorite podcast player. Our blog has had some great articles, again, about our ideals. And then I also had one of my articles about what hip hop can teach us about legal writing that I thought was nice and interesting. And I republished it there. And we welcome guest bloggers. And we definitely welcome writings from our students and alumni. So if you are interested in being featured on the blog or know anyone who is, just send them our way. And as Logan and Jessica mentioned, we did a kind of asynchronous year. because it was a little scaled back in the program. So they were able to kind of watch the modules that they missed before, because we record all our modules for our students. And then they were able to reflect on those modules. They filled out a little Google form. And so that allows us to recognize the benefits of each module, ways we could be better, and is an opportunity for them to look back, kind of like a journal of their year and their journey. We want to celebrate our February bar exam passers. So David Mitchell passed, and Baron Olden passed, and Nina Sterling, who was already a Florida bar passer, passed the New York bar exam. So she's double barred, Esquire squared. And if you want to hear about her journey, you can go to the podcast episode where she shares her journey to Esquire. It is full of bumps and bruises and overcoming and growth and celebration, and we just want to celebrate her some more. So congrats to our bar exam passers. So we provide scholarships for law students who lead, mentor, and inspire. And if it sounds like you, cash scholarships are available, mentors, leadership training, and more, as you heard from our class of 2023 scholars. Apply on the website, journeytoesquire.com. Class of 2024 application is open now and remain open through the summer, and we will review it later in the summer to choose our members of class of 2024. So if you're interested, make sure you check that out and get your application ready. And we're also always looking for volunteers. So if you're ready to lend a hand, visit the website We Need You. You can offer your time by mentoring a student, your talent by registering to speak at one of our modules, and of course your treasure. You can donate or become a sponsor. And so all that information is on our website. And like I said, our 5th anniversary celebration, save the date, October 14, 2023. We're having a Brunch and Bubbly event as a celebration and fundraiser. Look at our beautiful classes, 5 classes of students. Isn't that awesome? And of course, we'll be honoring our class of 2024 and introducing those student members at that event. It's going to be downtown Tampa at the Chester Ferguson Bar Building, right next to the Stetson Tampa campus on a Saturday morning. It's going to be a fun event. We're going to have a VIP reception. We're going to have a keynote speaker. We have someone who's going to sing. Of course, nice brunch options, a mimosa and mocktail at the reception. It's going to be fun and lighthearted. We're going to celebrate. We're going to fundraise so that we can keep doing this wonderful work. We are a completely volunteer-run organization. And in order for us to keep doing what we're doing and expand and help more students, we're going to have to raise funds to start hiring a program director, which is our next big goal. And we, of course, want to give out more scholarships and prizes. Most of the money we raise goes directly to students, and we want to keep that going. So if you want to help us out and help us celebrate, make sure you save the date and look out for those invitations. We are so thankful for our sponsors, of course. They make this financially possible. And we particularly want to thank 12-2 Training, Bush Ross, St. Pete Bar, who has been our sponsor since the beginning, the inception of the program, Butler Weimmuller, Katz Craig. As you saw, they invited us to their firm, and they have supported the program for many years. And our newest sponsor, Burt Foreman. So we want to thank Jacqueline Sims-Petridis for reaching out and deciding to sponsor us. Even though we're later in the class of 2023, they decided that they wanted to be a part of creating lawyers who lead, mentor, and inspire. And so we want to thank them so much. And we want to thank you for watching. Thank you to our scholars for presenting and sharing their stories. Thank you for those who joined us live and for those who are watching this today. And we will see you next time.
Thanks for tuning in to another great episode of Journey to Esquire, the podcast. Support, share, subscribe. And for more, visit www.journeytoesquire.com.